Ladies and gentlemen,
Maybe.
I'm going to bring the August 12th, 2025 Greater Clark County School Board of Trustee meeting to order. Ms. Markowski, by a thread, all of our board members are here and present and in reasonably good moods. If you would all please stand with me to say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item would be the approval of the agenda. And board, I move we approve the agenda as presented. Could I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mustaine. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. Next would be the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, and I would also move that we approve those. Could I please have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. There are no public comments, so we are now into our presentation for Earmark. Ms. Hubinger, thank you so much.
You know, board, I always like to be part of something exciting because, you know, finance is boring. So when I get an opportunity to have a few minutes to kind of deliver to Greater Clark some awesome news, you know we'll be part of it. So it's with great enthusiasm, excitement, pride to work and know Beverly Woodring. Because of her leadership, integrity, resilience, vision, and creativity, her hard work speaks volumes in itself. So much so that she received the highest recognition as Director of the Year. This is one of a large magnitude. She was selected for the Midwest region, unlike your region 10 in the little corner of the state of Indiana. She is one of 3 selected in the United States of America as an Golden Eagle recipient. I cannot thank her enough for her focus, success, and passion for GCCS. The impact of her efforts rescuing the food service financials and vast improvement to the program within 5 years is legendary. Remember, she inherited a negative $600,000 food service cash balance. She carries an average of $4.9 million. That's a $5.5 million turnaround in less than 5 years. So when I say legendary, it's legendary. I want to turn this over to Aramark team to share the significance Beverly has with Aramark and to talk about the Golden Eagle Award, what it means, and award the Director of the Year to our Food Service Director, Beverly Woodring.
Good evening, board. Thank you for allowing me to be here. For those of you that know me, I'm Natalie Turner. I'm the district manager for the state of Indiana, and it is my absolute pleasure to be here tonight to introduce and celebrate Beverly for this. So just want to give you a little bit of backing on this award. So this is a tradition that we have within Aramark that we presented to our Director of the Year across the Midwest region. And like Laura said, it's one of 3 across the United States. So the Director of the Year is the Golden Eagle statue. It's in recognition of these leaders' symbolic efforts. The eagle embodies many attributes in our American culture, but we found that these attributes to be fitting to our region and into our winners. The eagle represents physical power, strength, ferocity, focus, and willpower, so much that some people see eagles as a sign of a bright future on the horizon. Eagles represent resilience and stamina. Their effortless soaring reminds us to weather the storm and to rise above conflict. Additionally, eagles can be seen as representing truth, justice, honesty, integrity, and duty. The eagle flight reminds us to choose the high road whenever possible. The eagle also represents leadership and authority, and to those who make their spirit animal are born to be leaders and high achievers. Finally, the eagle can be seen as a representation of wisdom and vision. The eagle's eye is often used as a symbol of sharpness and accuracy. This piercing gaze sometimes represents protection and vigilance. With this award, the eagle represents all of these things, and above all, the ability to reach the highest possibility. So our Eagle Director of the Year Award encompasses all the organizational goals and attributes mentioned above and demonstrates leadership within their account. Remind you, this is an Aramark Award, right? So one of the things that Beverly shines is her peer leadership and how she helps others every single day. In short, they are the best of the best. They have delivered beating performances on the top and bottom line, so financial talk here, right? And then the drive to achieve the highest levels of success in safety, customer service, administrative reviews with the state, and then are a leader among their peers. This person can be counted on to always do the right thing. So our award tonight, persistence, patience, pride, determination, and leadership are just a few words that describe this director. She exemplifies the highest standards of operational excellence and leadership, delivering exceptional results across every measurable dimension while upholding the core values and policies of Aramark. As a top performing account leader, she has consistently demonstrated a commitment to excellence and accountability. Under her leadership, Greater Clark County has driven for results and have retained our partnership after our new 5-year partnership. What sets her apart is her comprehensive mastery in all operational metrics, from maintaining a low risk and safety record and achieving outstanding scores in client satisfaction to acing administrative reviews. Every aspect of the account reflects the relentless pursuit of excellence. She has created a culture of accountability, service, and innovation that resonates across the team and impresses both internal and external stakeholders. Furthermore, she serves as a pillar of leadership within the district, earning the respect of her peers and leadership alike. Always willing to lend a hand, she shares best practices and mentors new leaders. She exemplifies what it means to lead with integrity, consistency, and heart. Beverly is the embodiment of all Aramark Award categories combined. She is a dependable and principled leader who flawlessly executes Aramark's policies and procedures while still inspiring creativity, driving performance, and enhancing our client partnership with Greater Clark County Schools. Her ability to balance compliance with innovation makes her a truly deserving of this award. So it is my great honor, and we are actually flying her out to our headquarters in Philadelphia in November to celebrate with our Aramark family. But it is with great honor and pride that I present this award, this Eagle Award for Director of the Year to Beverly.
Now you say a few words.
I do want to say thank you to Aramark, and I also want to thank my team, because what I do, I could not do it without these guys right here. And I also want to say how appreciative I am to work for you guys who celebrate this with me. That means a lot. So thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much. Next item would be policy analytics. I'm not sure who's.
Again, if I have something good to say. Jane Herndon, known her for years throughout the state of Indiana. She's taken on a new role within the state. She works with Policy Analytics, which is a partner of ours. She is a fabulous teacher. Her former life did involve bond counsel and law, which we're familiar with. Her presentation, this board will love her for her personality, but we'll just hang on. The idea is that she needed to kind of prep the board, because next board meeting on the 26th, we get to do our 26th budget presentation. I know y'all love that. This is kind of a preempt on what we've been discussing over the last several months since the legislation has closed their session. She will bring you the raw deal numbers and educate you on the impact that legislation, not this administration, not this board, and no one local, made us get here. This was our Indianapolis seats that have implemented this, and so now we have to react to it, and they're quintessential in providing that data to us. So I'd like to introduce Jane Hearn to you.
Did you say this was good news, Laura? Because
No, but she's great.
from what I recall, this report's not great
Yeah,
news.
she's a great presenter,
what-
great
with what-
educator. She's a
with what
very
the
good
state-
teacher. We're gonna look at the bright side of this,
All right.
but anyhow.
I'll play along with you.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. I always like hearing all the good things you're having going on in the school corporation, especially when I bring this kind of report. So thank you. Thanks for having me. I know many of you have heard quite a bit about Senate Enrolled Act 1, Senate Bill 1, same thing. I'm going to go a little quickly over some of the highlights as they affect your numbers. So we'll see if I can get, there we go. So we're going to talk about the impact on the tax rate. And a little tail end of the tape here, all units of government across the state, to the extent they ask for the same amount of money, tax rates are going up. And you might think higher tax rates mean local governments are getting more revenue. That is not necessarily the case in Senate Bill 1. And then we'll also talk about the impact on the taxpayer. Little reminder about the math and how assessed value relates to tax rate and revenue. So you have the value of the property within the school corporation, that's the net assessed value. You apply or times a tax rate, and that gives you the revenue you can collect. And many schools, like Greater Clark, have been in places where assessed value has stayed strong. It's grown over the last few years. That's allowed districts to manage a tax rate to keep that steady and collect more money. With Senate Bill 1, that changes. And probably the first time in my career, across the state, we are seeing over the next 5 years, assessed value decrease. So in order to get the same amount of revenue, smaller assessed value means tax rates go up. So how did Senate Enrolled Act 1 reduce net assessed value? They did it a couple ways. My technology is not my friend here. Okay, there we go. First of all, they have increased the supplemental deduction on a homestead. And in the next 5 years, it will increase until 2031, at which time 2/3 of the value of a home will come off the tax rolls or be reduced before a tax rate is applied. So we have less of the home that are on the tax rolls. That means assessed value is reducing. All right. Is there a key to this?
No, you should just be able to roll it and go down.
I'm trying.
We can.
Oh, yeah, mine's not.
Okay, good, that's not me.
Got one battery.
Well, we have
I can point at you if you want. And you can be
Try
my
it.
man.
Try it.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, keep
While
going.
we have this pause,
Yeah.
to kind of, this is the frame to the budget, is that whole, remember, we've talked about it for every year. Higher assessed value means lower rate, and lower assessed value means higher rate. So in essence, what she's saying is that they've basically taken the control from me to manage that tax rate, which is what we've lived on, and made all of our capital plan and everything based on, and they've taken that away, in essence.
What else did they do for homesteads or homeowners? They added in what's called a supplemental homestead credit. I sometimes call it a $300 credit because it's the lesser of 10% of tax liability or $300. So conceptually, if you had a $300,000 home, and I'm only using that because the math is easy, $300,000 home, you have a tax cap of 1%, so the most of that taxpayer would pay is $3,000. They now will get a $300 additional credit, which will lower the bill to $2,700. That's good for the homeowner, but that is $300 that the school, the town, the city, the county is not collecting to be able to fund their budget.
That's okay. She
There we
got,
go.
she got a clicker for you. so-
Oh, I'll take that. Okay.
Works.
So what else did they do? Is that one working?
Uh-oh.
It just doesn't like us. It must be the topic.
Probably
I
so.
just turned it for her. Are you good on this page or you want to?
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll just
This isn't
point to
working
you.
either.
We'll just
That's
point.
weird.
We'll just point. So what did they do for 2% properties? And when we are talking 2% properties, we're talking things like apartments, long-term care facilities, agriculture. There are 2% tax cap properties. For the first time, they get deductions. So there'll be deductions rolling on in the next 5 years until 2031, at which point a third of the value of a farm or an apartment building comes off the tax rolls before you apply that rate. So that's shrinking that assessed value. Next one. How about business personal property? And we say business personal property, we're talking about things that are not buildings or real property, things like equipment, furnitures, fixtures, computers, farm combines, things like that. Currently in the law, if you have $80,000 of that business personal property in Clark County, you are exempt from taxation. They raised that $80,000 to $2 million. So our report has gone out and looked at your tax base. We've identified those taxpayers, and we're taking them off the rolls beginning in 2027. They also did something which is a little harder to explain, but for new property placed in service January of this year, under current law, that business personal property owner every year files a form, and the tax value is the cost less depreciation. Right. And under current law, when it gets to 30% of its original cost, it stays there. There's a floor, and you keep taxing it at that value. They got rid of the floor. So that means that property is going to get less as far as what is taxed until it's taken out of service. That is not in our report because it's for new property. What we don't know is what kind of incentive this might have. Does this mean a business would replace property or equipment now that they otherwise might not have, so they can get this beyond that 30% floor? Does it mean it sells it to another LLC, so it now is new equipment? We don't know that. That's something we're going to want to watch going forward. Next slide. Just a little reminder, I think your bond folks has probably talked to you about this. The 80-cent debt service rate was that bogey that if you were above that, all projects, regardless of the size, had to be on a referendum. They've lowered that now down to 70 cents, as you all probably know. Next slide. So let's take a look at your composition as a school corporation. In 2025, the navy blue there is residential. You're about 57% residential. You have business personal, which is that gold of about 9%, ag at 2%, industrial at 5.8%, commercial at 16%, and then apartments at almost 9%. If we look in 2031, and we're picking that year because that's when all those deductions are phased in, you can see that the composition of your tax base doesn't change too much regarding residential. It's slightly less at 54%. Your apartments have shrunk. Why? Because they now have deductions they didn't have before. Your commercial and your industrial have grown as a portion of the pie because when I went through that list, commercial and industrial didn't get any deductions. So that'll be something to watch going forward. I can see a place where the General Assembly sees that piece of the pie growing, but at this point, they are making up a larger share of your pie in 2031. Apartments have shrunk, and your business personal property have gone from 9 to 7%. That says to me that you have some taxpayers that have business personal property that is over that 2 million. So they are not being exempted out. But you have some other property owners, business personal property owners, that do qualify for that exemption. Next slide. Similarly with tax burden. So now we're adding in the tax caps, that traditional 1, 2, and 3% tax caps that I know you're familiar with, and we're adding in that $300 credit. And you can see your residential stays pretty consistent. Your commercial grows, your industrial grows, and your business personal property is less. Next slide. We ran, actually let's go 2 slides. We ran 2 different scenarios. And when I say scenarios, I mean possible ways that you may manage your debt levy going forward. The first one we're calling a levy scenario, and it assumes that you request the same amount of money in your debt fund going forward. So the levy is flat. Your operations fund will still grow by 4%, the maximum growth quotient, over the next 10 years, but you're asking for the same amount of money in your debt. So that's one scenario, one bookend. The other scenario we're looking at, we're calling a rate scenario. We took your debt rate of a little less than 70 cents, I think 68, 74, and we said prior to Senate Bill 1, how much could you have raised in your debt fund and kept that rate flat? And assuming some AV growth, you get a little bit more in your debt fund. So those are 2 scenarios we're running in this report. That may not be where you end up. In your administration, we'll talk about different options, but it's 2 places to take a look. So one is getting the same money in your debt fund each year, and the other one is getting a little more money in your debt fund for the next 10 years. Next slide. This slide shows the assessed value in Greater Clark schools. The green line is gross assessed value, meaning the value of the property before those deductions kick in. And you can see you've had some nice growth from 21, 22, all the way up until 25. You can see in 2027, there's a little flattening of that curve. That's when that business personal property exemption kicks in. It's coming off the gross because it's an exemption, not a deduction. But you see after that, it's still increasing. Why is that increasing? It's because our assessment system didn't change. We still assess homes based on market value, and you think about what the home market market has done. We expected, unless we have major downturn in the economy, to keep that going forward. And we're assuming about a 2 to 4% increase or trending in that gross assessed value number. The blue line is your net assessed value if Senate Bill 1 hadn't happened. So you can see it would have potentially increased, assuming your assessed value continued to grow. And then the orange line is what your net assessed value does due to Senate Bill 1. I'll say the 2026 number here is probably conservative. We should be seeing new 26 NAVs come out any day. They're supposed to be out August 1. Every day there's a few more that dropped. I looked at noon and I didn't see it. Okay, Laura says you're late. So it's possible this shows a 3% growth in assessed value from 25 to 26. So it's possible that that's conservative. And then after that, you see really a slow reduction until you get to 2031. That's when all those deductions are fully implemented, and then you have some growth again. You have a bump between 33 and 34. That's when some TIF rolls off. I can't promise that it won't be re-TIFed, but remember, you get that value back as the new base. So that for you is some good news, I think, down the road, that you may get some assessed value growth due to that. Next slide. So what does that reduction in the assessed value do to your total property tax rate? And you were at that $1.10, my understanding is that was a pledge that you made a number of years ago. And you can see the solid red line is that flat levy scenario. So you're asking for the same amount of money in your debt fund, and due to Senate Bill 1, the tax rate is projected to increase by 36 cents to $1.46. We've run this analysis for all the school corporations in the state, and generally we see between a 30 and 50 cent increase, the average about 35 cents. So you're right there in the average across the state of Indiana. So I guess one thing to remember, you're not alone in the situation where your tax rate is going up due to no fault of your own. In some ways, it's decoupling that concept of higher tax rate means more money and not necessarily larger bills. It's decoupling that. Next slide then, we can dig down a little more into tax rate at just the debt service tax rate. And you, in 25, we're at 68.74. And you can see with that flat levy, asking for the same amount of money, you would increase by 14 cents to 83 cents if that was the scenario you wanted to follow. You can see that puts you over the 70 cents. Certainly you have potential of grandfathered projects. I think you've been working through that with your advisors, which is terrific. That can buy you some time then over the next 5 years. But that 70 cents is what the current law is, and this is what you would be projected if you followed that scenario. Next slide. Need to talk for a second about local income tax. Even though this was overall a property tax bill, there was some income tax changes, or LIT, local income tax changes in the bill as well. And we are projecting in our report, because one of our jobs is to help you plan for the future. And the agreements that required LIT to be used in certain ways is going away in 2028 with this bill. And currently, Greater Clark is receiving, according to this DLGF report, about $1.1 million in cash or certified shares each year. In addition, you benefit by what's at the very bottom of that page that says property tax relief, and it says $18.6 million in the form of a tax credit. It's called PTRC, or property tax replacement credit. And it's sort of behind the scenes. So when a bill, the taxpayer's bill gets put together, the county takes some income tax and they use it as a credit to lower your tax bill. That's good for the taxpayer. That also means that school and the county and the town have less circuit breaker loss because it brings down the bill. If that goes away in 2028, you'll see in our report here, that means you collect less revenue. Next slide.
Quick question on
please.
You know, from what I read in Senate Bill 1, this goes away, but once the counties start instituting taxes, whatever you want to call it, to make up the revenue they're losing, because the Senate, or the state legislature gave them the ability to make up some revenue.
Correct.
Didn't give us any ability to make up any revenue. Are they still able to share some of that revenue with us?
That's a very good question.
And do we need to sit down and talk with the county leadership?
Yes, I think the second answer is yes. I think it's a good idea to talk to your county leadership. There is some disagreement on whether the county has the power to use that to offset other units' bills or only the counties, based on the way it's written. I'd encourage you to talk a little bit with your council about that, but I think there'll be more to come. Remember, that doesn't come into effect until 2028. DLGF is supposed to come out with some guidance here soon. Their report said it doesn't take effect until 28, so more to come.
Okay, well, because this was
Yes.
one of the things that shocked me the most. Is
Yes.
Why would you allow all these other government entities to make up the revenue they're losing, but tell schools, sorry, we're not going to give you any avenue to make up the revenue?
And cities and towns have the power to institute income tax now under this bill as well, where they didn't before. It was shared, the county did it and shared it with other units. So your point is well taken, yes. More to come on that. So let's look at the net levy, meaning the amount that the school is projected to collect in its operations fund. You see 2025, 12,000,001 came from property taxes. We have the business personal property exemption kicking in 27, and then 28 we have that PTRC being eliminated, and the net revenue drops down to $8 million. It then slowly grows again to 10, but it's still below what you are receiving in 25. There were some legislators that had the talking point, it just was going to be less of more. And with some school corporations, that is the case. In other words, they'll have more than they had in 2025, just not as much as they would have had if Senate Bill 1 didn't happen. That's not your situation here. You're just less, potentially less than what you're getting in 25. Next slide then. Let's add in now the income tax certified share, that cash that I talked about. There was the PTRC and then there was also that cash. So you can see here in 25, instead of the 12,000,001 from property tax, when we add in the income tax, you were up at 13.3 in collections for your ops fund. And it then drops down to the 8 million in 2028. That means that it's by 2031, that's a 3.2 annual amount less than what you had in 2025. And if you compared it to what you would have had if Senate Bill 1 didn't occur, it's $7.3 million less. Next slide. Let's talk about the $300 supplemental homestead credit. So this is the dollars each year that you will not be collecting because of that new homestead credit. And right now, it's broken out between your debt fund and your ops fund. You can see your ops fund in blue and your orange in debt. If you remember, traditional circuit breaker loss, the debt fund is protected from that. All that loss comes out of your ops fund because the rating agency said you gotta protect debt, General Assembly, otherwise we're gonna downgrade units. When this law was written, it did not protect debt. It'll be interesting to see if the General Assembly comes back and changes that. If they do, that means these poles now will turn all blue. So in 2027, instead of 812,000 being loss in your operations fund, it'll be over $2 million loss in your operations fund. We thought we better look at that and project that out as well. Next slide. Oops, there we go. That's all right. So we took the slide we were showing you before with the dollars in the operations fund in red, and we added in that rust-colored bar. That's assuming that homestead credit loss that otherwise would come out of the debt fund comes out of the operations fund, and you can see that that drops down then to 6.7 million by 2028. Next slide. This is a slide that you may have seen before. It's all of the different taxing districts within Greater Clark Schools. And you can see, depending on where a taxpayer lives, their overall tax rate is different. And so those folks who live in Clarksville or Jeffersonville, you can see that municipal rate requires then that the overall tax rate is higher. So for example, middle bar there, the tallest one, $3.89. That's the Clarksville, Greater Clark fire inside the fire district. That amount of overall tax rate also determines how quickly you're hitting the tax cap. So let's go to another slide. We wanted to look at the impact on the taxpayer. We used the median home value in your entire school corporation of $227,500. That's the median home value in the school corporation. And we assumed this is a median homeowner living in that Jeffersonville City OFW district. Makes up about 29% of your tax base. And as I mentioned, it had a total tax rate of $2.96. About 70% of the homes in that taxing district are at the tax cap. You can see their 2025 bill was $2,275, and after Senate Bill 1 and that $300 10% credit, it drops by $166 to $2,109. Wow. This taxpayer's at the tax cap. You'll notice that the bill, the liability goes up over time. Why? Because it's still based on market value, and the market value of that home is increasing, therefore the assessed value is increasing, and that didn't go away with this bill. Looking at another example, a couple of these we'll go through quickly because they're pretty similar. Utica Township, Jeffersonville City, 21% of the tax base. Their tax rate in 2025 was $2.88. Their bill is reduced by $166. Let's go to the next one. City of Jeffersonville, 13 or 14%, same $166 reduction. Next slide. City of, is it Charlestown? Am I saying it right? Charlestown. 8% of your tax base, $166 reduction. And let's stop on this one for a second. This is Charleston Township. And this taxpayer is not at their tax cap because the overall tax rate in that community was $1.79. That lower rate meant they aren't at their cap. The tax credit dropped their bill by $125, but look at what happens between 27 and 28. It increases because that PTRC goes away. Those people that were at the cap, when that PTRC credit goes away, it doesn't help them because they're at their cap. Here, there's room for that credit to go away and for their bill to actually increase because they aren't at the cap. Next one is Owen Township. You're going to see they are also not at the tax cap. Next one after that is Washington Township. They are also not at their cap.
Really?
And then the last one is Utica Town, and they are not at their cap. So I assume you guys would like to look at that more in detail later, but I think it's a little interesting depending on where you're living. Last slide then. So a couple takeaways, sort of summary. I think obviously that income tax has a significant effect on you, both with the cash that you'll no longer receive, as well as that PTRC. Your assessed value is reducing by about 17% between 2025 and 2031. And that's happening because the business personal property, the apartments, the ag, and the residential. I've had some board members, when we go through that taxpayer impact, say, $125. Why is it just $125 if we are suffering this much loss in our revenue? And I think you have to remember that this bill wasn't just about homesteads. It exempted business personal property, ag, apartments, other types of taxpayers besides just homesteads got relief. And so that's why you're seeing the actual reduction in the bill might not be as much as people would have anticipated. Mm-hmm. I think that that's something that's probably got to get communicated out, though, because the expectation, I think, from a taxpayer's perspective, if they were reading the headlines, is they were going to see significant reduction in their tax bills.
I think the term was historic.
Historic.
Wasn't it? Yeah, $166. Yeah.
So, there's going to be some disconnect there. And the question is, what does the General Assembly do about that?
We'll be blamed.
And also, how do you all handle that from a communications perspective?
Well, I was going to ask you that question, because who really benefited from this bill? It seems to me cities, towns, counties have all gotten their budgets cut. School districts have gotten their budgets cut. The homeowners are only going to get a $166 credit. Did it all go to businesses, basically?
There certainly are benefits from ag and business. I think one thing to remember, and we didn't have it on the slide, and we probably should have, is we didn't show where that bill would have been if Senate Bill 1 didn't happen. We compared to what their 2025 bill was, and we said it's going to be less. Probably we needed a line on there to say if Senate Bill 1 didn't happen, you would have been up here. Yeah. So that is a piece of the puzzle. But I think you're absolutely right. It is all these different types of taxpayers that are getting relief, not just homeowners. Yeah. Tax rate, we talked about that. No fault of you asking for the same amount of debt levy, and your tax rate is going up 36 cents projected. And then we talked about the reduction in the operations fund and that taxpayer impact. So this is just a summary slide for you all to take a look at. I know it's a lot of information. There's appendices on here that you can dig into the numbers. There's 10 years of levy, tax rate, circuit breaker loss, so you can look at that in more detail. I think in my mind it's communication, and you're doing the right thing in that you're hearing about all the changes that Senate Bill 1 brought. And then from there, decisions on what do you do with your levy going forward.
And I just want to remind the board, when you talk about operations fund, this impacts our ability to transportation, pay utilities, pay for fuel, pay for insurance, pay for some classified staff. I mean, it's significant in terms of, and we're facing the same thing that cities, counties, and I mean, you've read the paper, you've seen some of the articles from our mayors, from our county leaders, that they're facing the same thing, in terms of how do you get through this without too much damage to your district. And our question is, how do we get through this without it impacting the students in the classroom? Absolutely. And that's going to be the big question.
So while this is a little bit fresh in your mind, and before we tackle the budget next week, or next, I wish it was next week, but August 26th.
I wish it was next week. I'm so excited for
I know
it.
you are. Yeah, yeah. So she talked about where you're going to end up with $8 million in your operations fund from the loss of property tax relief in LIT and taking it to $8 million. Technically, this district qualifies for $19 million in property tax. Let's start there. The circuit breaker hits us and we're collecting 12. Right? So we as a district and schools across the state of Indiana have accommodated that and have this district right here specifically in the state of Indiana, and I don't know if Jane realizes this, that they were millions in the hole and have recovered to a nice cash balance from some toughness, some tough love, right? That tough love will kind of get you through as long and as hard as it can without impacting the taxpayer as much. She's talking about these increases of going 35 cents. This is rattling our hearts because we stayed at $1.10. Stayed at $1.10, whether the assessed value went up or down. That was it. And we had that plan to get this district into the level that it needed to be, and it should be, and it requires it to be. So what the message is on your budget is going to be, I will do my best to control that rate. However, we are in the situation where we have these plans and we have the need. I mean, we are a growing district. Let's just face it. We're a growing district. If you've been to our new schools that were waiting for the parking lots, have you been to those lines? Have you seen those lines? Yeah, we've got kids that are coming to us. What do you do as a district who needs to provide a school building for their students? We have to be reactionary to it, and we also have to plan, which you have done. So your cash balances do not be, I always said, whenever I do the DUAB report, which I talk to them all the time, I'll tell them, this is, I don't know what you're going to do about your other schools, and we're a good school, and we are surviving and did very well. I can only imagine what's going to be coming down the line. There's 55 right now before this even hits, and 26 that might be completely devastated. So our increase may go up. Kids from all over the state of Indiana may have to come here because we're the only ones that get to stay open, right? So ours is going to be probably levy driven in our debt. So those two scenarios, the levy drive, the need is going to be there for the next couple years, and we will level off. So that's what's going to, when I present to you. Of course, I always advertise high, so I can try to get back in and control that rate and pull it back in, right? I'll try as hard as I can, but with some of these unknowns, we will. The 3% projection, they always project lower in the assessed value than what I have, but I'm protected by advertising high. So no matter where we land, so if it comes in lower, I've got a higher tax rate to handle that. Comes in higher, I still have a higher tax rate to pull that in. Our desire is to have it go higher, so I can control that a little bit better and accommodate your debt payments. You do not want to shy away from debt. On the flip side, that operations fund, well, we got cash balance, right? And we got rainy day. Thank goodness, right? So when we're transferring in and we're doing those resolutions, there is a long-term reason for that. Been through this before in our life. 2009, we thought we were going to dive in. So what the good news is now we got a partnership arm in arm with our cities and towns that now can go and do some fighting in the same echo of we've been fighting since 2009. So I just wanted to just kind of say that while you had these numbers in your mind and how that kind of works. That's okay. So again, I agree with the superintendent so much so that I hate to even say anything because I'll get him fired up. But $166 over 1 year to devastate your cities, towns, county, and your school corporation, it's pretty sickening. So you have anything else to add?
Thank you, Ms. Herndon. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Beverly, I haven't seen your golden eagle let its arms down or anything through that presentation. I know it was, for a while, I saw it really heaving, but I appreciate you hanging there with us. Yeah. And I should have invited you the opportunity to take off if you want to. But
No.
I figured that would be
No.
thrilling and
You
keep
guys
you
should
around.
go. Enjoy your
So I'm
night.
glad you
It's
did.
storming. You should go.
It's storming. Well, I know, but
It's storming. Go
ordinarily
outside.
I do that. If they get an award, I turn them loose.
Save yourself. Go now. Beverly, don't be
any
a
rate-
martyr. Natalie.
Stay strong, Natalie.
Yeah, stay strong, Natalie. At this point, we're going to move forward with the agenda.
Unnecessarily with Natalie and Beverly.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I have it pulled up. I'm so excited. I've been studying it.
We first need to do the consent agenda.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually going to move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. All right, so now we will move gifts to buildings, and then we'll swing on into action items.
Heck yeah. New Washington Middle High School has cleaned up this month. Indiana FFA Foundation, Greater North Clark Healthcare, Donut Envy of Madison. How cute of a name is that? NAB Presbyterian Church, Play On Sports Specialty Manufacturing has all given for FFA tools, safety, pride, Mustang Food Program, and athletics. That's the Mustang Food Program, as in that's their mascot. We're not feeding Mustangs, although that would be cool. I move that we accept this gifts to buildings in the amount of $5,539.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments regarding gifts to buildings? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. The next would be resolution for supplemental payments. Don't you think we forgot about you, Ms.? Oh. You were just sitting over there waiting your turn. Yes.
All right, the supplemental pay presented is to allow payment to the teachers listed for the completing the duties specified. The payments were shared with Samantha Pierce, GCA president.
Okay. Board, do I have a motion for that approval for the supplemental payments?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any questions or comments from Ms. Helton? Are you sure? She's been waiting a while. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. Okay, thank you. Board policy updates.
Yeah, Board, as you know, we go through this periodically in terms of updating our policies. We received a big batch of new policies in the last few weeks. Chelsea had some good reading material.
Sure did.
We've looked through them in cabinet and reviewed them. I know Chelsea has, and I would recommend that the board approve these policy updates.
Thank you, Mr. Lawford. Do I have a motion for that approval?
I can make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Crump.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Yeah, any questions or comments? Chelsea, you have anything you want to add? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. Next would be contracted services.
Good evening, Board. We take great pride at this point in the year to have pretty good staffing in place overall, which is, we're very proud of that. And one area that is a high demand and hard to fill is our school psychologist. So we work together with our cabinet very creatively to try to reach out and come up with as many different innovative ways to make sure that we are fully staffed to best service the needs of our students. So Gretchen Trass is a licensed school psychologist who has agreed with her attached contract to provide that service for us in assessing students for 100 days at $55 per hour, 7.5 hours per day. And this will include initial evaluations and conferences to be held in person.
Okay. Board, I move we approve the agreement with Gretchen Trash, the school psychologist.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. Thank you very much.
Are you ready, Mr. President?
I am ready.
Okay, great. I am here to present a request from the board to approve the land developer for the River Ridge Middle School surplus property on July 9th, 2025 at the hour 1 p.m. The district publicly opened bids for the surplus property located at the Utica Sellersburg Road, also known as the River Ridge Middle School surplus property that's behind it. We received proposals from 3 wonderful developers. All 3 provided the price for the purchase of the property, design and layouts of the proposed development. Those that submitted were Millennium, Discovery Builders, and DC Development. A committee was formed to review each proposal. A detailed review and scoring were performed. Our consulting team, the Wheatley Group, reviewed the proposals independently to provide review that all bids were compliant with official requests for the proposals. Their opinion was that of guidance. The committee overwhelmingly selected Millennium to be awarded the development project. Attaches a scoring summary sheet. Attaches the proposal for Millennium showing in the example of their proposal. The appeal among the team was the design of the home, the number of units with larger lots. The team also liked the community element, and the price was fair. The approval I'm asking is to accept the committee's recommendation of the selection of the developer. At a future meeting, I will come to the board with a contract which will be prepared and reviewed by our legal team. I respectfully recommend that the Board of Trustees accept the selection of Millennium as the purchaser and land developer of the surplus property behind the River Ridge Middle School.
Okay.
Amen.
Board, I move we accept the land developer of Millennium Builders for the proposal for what we have.
River Ridge.
River Ridge Middle.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. Would you all like to say anything?
I would just like to take the time to say thank you all for the time that you put into this development. The thorough process that you all put forth to even take the bids on was very impressive, and you can tell you care a lot about this project, and we hope to make you all proud because we will put just as much time and effort into making this something that long-term the community is very proud of. So thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Very impressive, so we appreciate it. All right, going to move right along. The contract agreement with Lancer Associates.
Yes, the board approved in the capital plan of the project for the JHS weight room project. This is the old school pool, so when the other pool is finished, then this work will start. So we won't start that until the other pool is done. But Lancer Associates, as you know, beginning of any project, there's a lot of work and detail that has to be done. This is supported by the bond, and that disbursement will be received sometime later on this year because I don't take on. I mean, that project's going to take a minute to get started. So we'll probably bring some of those funds in. So that way we will pay and then we'll get reimbursed. And we do that resolution. This is when we do this because we do want them to be prepared and have an opportunity to go through all of that. So it is my recommendation that the board approves the attached contract with Lancer & Associates for the Jeff High Weight Room project.
And just to give you a quick review, board, on what this is, because it's been a while since we've talked with this. Basically, that whole back half of Jeff High, the old pool, the wrestling rooms, the current weight room, there's another weight room / classroom back there, the old football locker room, the flooring. This will involve all that. And basically, and if you've been back there, you know it needs an update. We walk through there for graduation, every graduation. And so converting that old pool into a very, very nice weight room that fits a school that size is probably the biggest part of this project. But then using the old weight room and opening that up to more wrestling room practice area is also a big part of this project. So that's what this is.
Good deal. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the contract agreement with Lancer Associates to provide architect services for the approved JHS Weight Room project.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mustaine. Any questions or comments regarding that? I know, like I say, it's been a while. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining. All right. Contract agreement, LHM.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Board of Trustees also approved in the capital plan the CHS baseball field outfield turf project. That's the only one that's left. We do need an architect to evaluate it, engineer it, and sign off on it. So we did engage with our local architect firm, LMH. This is supported by the 2025A money, which we've received our first disbursement on that. We'll be getting, second disbursements to try to save taxpayer interest on that. So I respectfully request the Board of Trustees approve the attached contract with LMH Architecture to provide architect services for the CHS baseball outfield turf project.
Thank you. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Freeman.
second it.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments?
I do have one. I will be bringing the core, which you're seeing that you awarded. I received it today, the contract on the 26th. So I just kind of wanted to say that's coming in. They did their bids and trying to get all of that all handled by this board. It just couldn't get done, so we will bring on that soccer project, which is all kind of listed at CMS, all the things we're doing there. So I'll bring that next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, basically on this piece, a couple of our turf contractors wanted more information, more detail on the drainage plan and things of that nature before they bid it. So we're going to make sure they have the information they need as far as the drainage and all that, so we can get the lowest bid possible.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we've had a first and a second. Okay, all those in favor of the approval contract agreement with LHM for the CHS baseball outfield turf project, say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, this is a wonderful time of the meeting. Board comments and quickly into adjournment. Mr. Jones, what could we hear from you today?
I'm good.
All right, Ms. Hutchinson.
I just want to say that back to school was amazing. I know there's always transportation issues. My sister used to work at Charlestown Middle School in Bridgepoint. I said the first couple of days, she's like the first week or so, but it seems to go really, really well. And kids are exhausted when they come home from school. So, they've got the brains on, and I'm really proud of our teachers and administrators.
Good deal. Ms. Crump?
Yeah, congrats to all the kids that are back in school, and I guess they want to be congratulated. I don't know, they might not be happy about it. My kids were happy about it. And to the staff, keep up the great work. I seriously appreciate all that teachers and paras do, so, especially dealing with my kid. My youngest.
You're Angel. What are you talking
Little
about?
angel baby.
Just congratulate Beverly and her team. Great job, well deserved.
I don't have any comments this week, thank you.
Ms. Perkins?
Beverly, you are outstanding, and I'm glad somebody else or other people recognized that and gave you that award. Airmart has always been very good to us, and it's even getting better. Thank you very much.
I would echo that as well. And you have quite a mentor there sitting next to you. And
And a great team.
And a great team around you. But you obviously are very humble and always pull the team into it. But I just am grateful from where it's come monetarily and how it's been run expertly and with the product you deliver.
And the food is good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the food is so good.
I mean, trust me.
That's what I was going to
Very
say.
good.
I'm disappointed you didn't bring any of those cookies.
Exactly. I was my mom's good eater, so I know those sort of things. But at any rate, thank you so much. And I do want to say, too, my grandkids love being back at school. I don't know, my grandson has gotten from elementary school to now, he's a sixth grader at River Valley. And for whatever reason, he gets off the bus, and the driveway's pretty long, and he just takes off running. And I thought, what about me? I'm the one you always wanted to see and say, and he takes off running, and he says, I asked him, I said, what's up? And he said, no, my PE teacher, I need to run everywhere I go. And I go, well, that's great. That's run in there and get to your homework then. But at any rate, thank you, Samantha, for helping with all the teachers and getting things in line, and the paras and the bus drivers, man. I mean, I know it's really not on you, but my grandkids love the bus driver. It's like, are they giving you candy or what? Maybe that's why he's running like he's running. Anyway, thank you all so much.
Overall, we've had a really good start to the school year. I would ask that our community still be patient with us at Pike and Charlestown. Those are two very big new elementaries. And the parking lots aren't finished and won't be finished for a couple more months, so there's still going to be challenges there in terms of getting people in and out, that should ease up once the parking lots are done, to be able to stage and get cars in and out of there, but just be patient with us. And I think you could already see that our principals and leadership teams at both those schools have done a fantastic job of trimming the times down as far as dismissal and arrival, especially on the car rider line. That I think the second day they both trimmed like 45 minutes off the time it took to get people, the kids out of there. And I think they'll get better and better as the school year goes along. So just be patient with us. As you can see, they're still excavating a lot of dirt around both those schools, trying to get the parking lots done as fast as they can, which will allow us more staging area, more drop-off pickup area, and that'll help.
I just want to congratulate Beverly. We love their work.
Good job. Anything else? We good? Okay,
I move we adjourn.
I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.